masterclass webinar series which the University of Mumbai, the chairman board of studies for mass media, Dr. Sundar, has been conducting. And I am Dr. Samir Karkhanis, CEO of Yanko Executive Education, a global edutech company which has interest in media, entertainment, entrepreneurship, and online education. Yeah. Today we have a fantastic guest. In fact, before even I start, Mr. Brian, I must tell you, I have been a great fan of yours. I used to be a management sales trainee 20 years back in a company, Foster's. Okay, when Foster's was launched, this was, I'm talking about around 1998 or 99. And
Right.
I had the honor to come to your office in Bandra. There is, and I used to be a sales guy selling Foster's beer in wine shops and clubs. And y'all had launched Foster's, the Australian for beer thing through Ogilvy and O&M. And I
That's
had the
right.
opportunity to work with you and your teams. That was 20 years back. And that gave me the idea of what is glamour, what is event marketing. So friends, let me introduce you, Mr. Brian, very clearly to say the guy with lot of passion, humility. Maybe it is, so you have seen him, we have seen him growing in our younger days from a music host to an anchor, Hollow Mumbai, Radio Mirchi, the big musical events which happen in this country, whether it's a Mahendra Blue, getting the big international artist in this country. Mr. Brian has helped us doing it all professionally, more than 2 decades or more experience in the glamorous world of media, entertainment, experience. They create, memories, whether it is corporate events, entertainment events, from conceptualization, a person who understands crisis. So I'm sure, Mr. Brian, crisis is not going to be a big challenge because events, every moment is a crisis and you have to solve. And so they have done the best events in the country, the best brands they have launched in this country. It's not just the operational, they work on strategies. And Mr. Brand has been a forefront tycoon in the world of events and media. So this is my brief, humble introduction of Mr. Brian. Today's format, friends, is going to be where I'm going to ask him some initial questions and immediately we will be opening up for a Q&A session, right? So we will do that. Mr. Brian, just for your information, the audience which we have today is from graduating BMM mass media students, many young industry professionals, faculty members, and in general, a student audience from across the country, from commerce, arts, science, who are interested in branding, marketing, events, digital. But today they are specifically here to listen to you about the world of events, exhibitions, entertainment, all that. Right? So that is the context in which we are doing this. This is a 7-day series we are doing. On day one, we had Mr. Bhaskar Das, who briefed on the media overview. Yesterday, we had Mr. Vivek Bhargava from Densu Ages, who gave us insights on the digital and the social media mind frame. And then today we have you on the event experience marketing verticals. And then tomorrow, I am personally going to take a session with the students on careers, opportunities, courses, colleges which to select. So friend, just a note, all those who are present and communicate to your friends and community also, my session, which was on Sunday evening, has been moved to tomorrow evening, because we have been getting a lot of emails and WhatsApp messages from people saying, sir, our questions are getting unanswered, which courses to do, what to do after graduation. So can we have that answers? Because, today also, Mr. Brian, we will see a lot of people asking on which college to go, what courses to do. So I thought, let me move my session midweek so that we cover those, so that the students can completely focus on the industry vertical.
That's good. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So friends, that's from there. We'll start the Q&A. I will start with a few questions which we have received from students. Yeah.
Okay.
So let me take a few questions to start with. Yeah. So typically, we would like to know, Mr. Brand, how is the day in an event executive's life? What do you all actually do in this event? Because what we as consumers see is a final, MTV Music Award. But what
Right.
is the executive does, and what do you do as a CEO?
So, firstly, let me just speak generically for an event agency. What's the day in the life of an event agency? What does it entail? So I'd like to believe we as event agencies or experiential marketing agencies, as we like to know ourselves as these days, are, for lack of another way to say it, we are the creative glue in a supply and demand situation. So on the one side of our universe is brands or products that want to reach out to the consumer. And on the other side of our universe are consumers who are looking to consume. Okay, obviously as consumer denotes. Now, we play the role of being the creative glue between a supply and demand situation or a brand and a potential consumer situation. So what do? We are constantly strategizing and planning on how we can help both sides of the universe. Now, we tend to focus a lot on brands because, and I'm going to say it like it is, because we believe that brands have marketing spends, brands have sales spends, and we're actually working with a brand on its strategy to distribute itself to the consumer. Nothing wrong with that. That's the conventional way of thinking, and for all the right reasons. But I think more and more over the last decade or so, maybe even longer, we've started to look at the consumer side of things as well, because in India, more than ever now, the consumer is becoming as if not more important than the brand. So we're looking at the consumer. The consumer has a spend as well. The consumer is more fiercely opinionated today with, with the digital world around him. So we have to actually now look at it both sides. Look at what the brand, who the brand is, what the brand stands for, at what stage of its life is the brand, and what's the brand looking for by way of objectives. And we need to very importantly look at the consumer, the other side of our spectrum, and figure out who the consumer is for the brand. What is the consumer looking for? So broadly, what we now do is we ideate and we try and collaborate with the consumer to create communities. That's what it's all about. Every brand aspires to create a community that will consume it. So our regular day at work is strategizing and planning. I'm talking about an overarching view. Then, of course, there's the world of operations. There are various departments. So the departments could be, like I said, strategy, planning, business development, sales, production. And they, as the names connote, business development, go out and actually connect with brands and brand managers and see how best we can interact with them. How can we create engagement for them, experiences for them. The sales department does the very same thing, except that they are people who actually convert potential into contracts. The creative department and the strategy department work closely hand in hand. The strategy department is the one who strategizes and plans, and the creative department actually brings fruition to those strategies and plans. And then, of course, there's the production. When the deal is sealed and when the mandate is received from either the consumer or the brand, the production goes out and actually executes it. Broadly speaking, this is the universe. What I love about our business is no 2 days are the same. Now that can work both ways. That can be terribly exciting to you, which it is to me, or that can be very intimidating to certain people, because it's not about settling into a routine and then living happily ever after. Our business, and what's happening right now. All of us know what's happening right now. So there's never a dull day in our lives, but that can be looked at as a plus or a minus. I tend to look at it as a plus. The excitement never stops. And so you have to be ready to learn in double quick time. So we live very exciting lives, I'll tell you that. It maybe reduces our lifespan by half, but we live exciting lives.
So true, so true. Just to expand on this, now we keep hearing this word, MICE. So what is this? What are the facets of an event business?
I'll give you our case. And that'll kind of maybe in some way explain to you. I did mention that there are two sides of the universe that we work with. One is the consuming end or the consumer, and two is the distribution end or the product end, which is the brand. Now, in our business, and I must use a specific case just to explain myself, we have 4 business verticals. While we are called an event company or an experiential marketing company, there are 4 different P&Ls that we have, 4 different divisions that we have, each with their own P&L, each with their own business heads, each with their own staff. Of course, we have common departments like finance, administration, HR. These are all departments that are common to all the 4 verticals. Now, let me explain the 4 verticals. One scenario is mandated events, where we go out to a brand. The brand says, this is what the brand is. This is what I want to achieve in the immediate going forward. How do I do it? So they give us a brief. They tell us, we must be very careful to understand what the brief is. You understand the brief. We bring it back to planning and creative. We come up with a solution. We take it back client servicing takes it back to the client. It goes back and forth. Obviously, we live in a competitive world. So, you're always pitching for business. Not every, all work is a given. If you win the pitch, you go back and you execute it and you measure, the effectiveness of what you've done. That's mandated events, which are mandated by a brand or a consumer. The other kind of events we do are activation events, which are last mile connect with consumer. So it means large scale activation. You want sampling, as an activation activity, and you go into towns, into smaller towns and things like that. Now we do, for instance, we do activation for the NBA basketball. We do various other activations for brands across 50 cities, 80 cities, 100 cities, 150 cities. Those are large scale brand activations which are long term, that run over many, many months. That's the second kind. I did mention that we are as connected with the consumer as we are with the brand. So what we do is we create intellectual properties. We aggregate consumers. So the blues festival you mentioned, the Mahindra Blues Festival. Now there was a vision from Mr. Mahindra, who said he wanted to create an emotional bridge between India and the southern states of America. He wanted to actually create this. Why? Because he has farming equipment, the whole cars, tractors, all of that. He wanted to create an emotional bridge. It was a marketing brief, not a sales brief. And I'm so glad to say, so the IP department, which creates intellectual properties based on aggregating consumers and community, is a department that takes a brief like this, sits with creative, sits with strategy, and we plan something. We plan a property that will be a repeated property, will be year on year. It's an intellectual property owned by the brand, but it has long-term objectives, not short-term objectives. And we decide along with the client that it will take us 3 years, it will take us 5 years, and we work at reducing that time period, obviously, but it's a property that will happen year on year. And the intellectual rights are owned by the brand or by the client, but we grow it as we go along. And the Mahindra Blues Festival is a very classic case of that. We also have a digital company, which actually works on digitizing some of the work we do and offering digital products to the market. Because while activation, while live events on ground will continue to happen, amplification is a very important factor. And so digital is a great asset to the experiential marketing industry. We have to understand that for amplification of our thought, for amplification, of our communication and our messaging, digital is a great asset, not just for amplification, but for measurement as well. So, I won't go into micro details, but we have a couple of products that we've created which help map the effectiveness of what we do globally, not just in India. And those are products that, even as an aside, large global companies are using. Okay. So, one is called Traction, one is called Kit, but digital is a great asset to have in experiential marketing. So that's the third division. And the fourth division is what you mentioned earlier, which, the acronym is MICE.
Yeah.
Now, MICE stands for meetings, incentives, conferences, and exhibitions. Okay. That's what it stands for. But primarily in India, it's more incentives. So what do I mean? That's a business where there's a large company, let's say, a banking company or a financial company or a FMCG company, whatever company, they want to reward their people. They want to reward either their internal people, or they want to reward their retailers. They want to reward their distributors, whatever it might be. What they do is it's based on certain parameters that they set. And then at the end of the day, we do groups from as small as 50 people to as large as 5,000 people over a year. And we take them to various destinations in the world. So primarily what MICE does, it deals with travel and travel logistics. It deals with hospitality, which is, hotels and accommodation. It deals with ground transportation, which means, as travel to and fro to various destinations and back. But more importantly, each of these trips that we do, whether it's with employees, whether it's with retailers, have a finer purpose. It's not just a reward for a job well done, but we use it as an opportunity where you have an audience with you, and it's used to subtly transfer messages from the brand or from the brand ownership to these people. You thank them for what they have done for you and for the brand, but in the process, you also kind of, because you have them captive, you actually take them through who you are in a little deeper way while you thank them. So these are very, very important aspects of the business we're in, MICE. Some people treat it as a travel business. We treat it as one essential of the experiential business. So that is MICE. So these, these are the 4 areas that we as a company are involved in. The idea was to provide a single window, to a brand.
Yeah. But then this brings us to another question. So how different is an event experience company from an advertising company? Because they also do very similar kind of digital work or creative work, that kind of a thing. And then where does the client fit in? Do they also have this kind of talent at that side?
So,
Or
initially,
together?
yeah, no, it's an interesting question. Initially there was, in the earlier days, everything that was based only on campaign and communication around a brand was
Yes.
considered the advertising business. It only had to do with communication, creative communication
Okay.
around a brand, around an opportunity, around usage, around personality of a brand. And the mediums used, as we all know, was television, were theater houses, were newsprint, to some extent digital, outdoor, hoardings and stuff like that. This was what was once called, if you remember, above the line.
Above the line,
Above
yes.
the line, and what was below the line was touch and feel experiences, or what we call event or experiential business.
Okay.
I think over the years, and I'm talking about 25 years ago, 30 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, this was the feeling. Slowly, above and below the line
All
started to get merged, and it became
blur.
through the line at one time. And
Okay.
today, I'd like to say there is no line at all. You know,
Wow.
nothing stops, and a traditional above the line agency, advertising agency, from actually collaborating or starting its own event division. Nothing stops an event company or an experiential company from being creative and strategic. I mean, there are so many cases, Samir, where we actually create the campaign now internally.
Wow. For
Yeah,
the client.
for the client.
Okay.
Initially we were always called in as, and this is not a conflict between, I don't mean to make this a conflict between an event agency and an advertising agency, but very
Mhm.
often in the old days, the campaign was decided, the communication was decided, and event agencies were just called in and given a very specific brief and said, do this event for me. Get me sound, lights, yeah, wo, this, that, and execute it for me. Today, things have changed. And I'm not saying it has changed completely, but in very many cases, we started to get called in together with them. So it wasn't just separate agencies called, called separately. Or we were at one time used to be called and told, this is what you have to do, now do it and do it well. We were called in together with the advertising agents, and let's sit together around the table and actually create the campaign. And actually, because you might create a campaign that is very difficult to, or doesn't suit on ground. You might have an on ground thought which doesn't suit the online,
So
or the advertising campaign. So today what companies are doing is they're bringing both these offerings, to the same table, and they're reaching a decision together. Some are even going the other end and saying, to certain projects or to certain objectives, ground is more important than how we advertise it. So let's decide what we need to do on ground, create a campaign, and then we'll use a conventional advertising agency to buy us space online, whether it is on television or outdoor, or online, or wherever else it is. So, I mean, there's no hard and fast, there's no fixed rule. And, the line between traditional above the line and below the line is blurred completely now. And I'm saying this for the betterment. I'm not, I'm saying it's a good place to be, rather than divide responsibilities like that.
so this is what we are calling as a digital transformation. There is nothing more now left as digital, non-digital, all work together in an integrated fashion. As a
Absolutely.
brand owner, for me, it's all 360-degree integrated.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely right.
so this brings us to the next question. What are the kind of skills or qualifications do these youngsters who are listening to us today
Yeah.
need to get into an event experience media integrated company? What do they do after BMM? What roles can they expect?
See,
Yeah,
I want to dispel some myths firstly.
great.
Very often we treat this event agency or experiential agency, and we have, you know, a lot of aspiration to get into it for all the wrong reasons. I think first one has to introspect and find out who we are and what are we good at. So there's no general rule, because like I said earlier, if you join an experiential or an event agency, you could be a marketing person and focus on marketing for brands. You could be a business development or a sales person and focus on that. You could be a creative person and focus on design and innovation. You could be a strategy person who's a great thinker and an analyst. You could be a production person who understands stage, sound, lights, technology, and help that to happen. So there's no one line answer to what are the qualities I should have. It all depends firstly on what you believe your strengths are. We have people in our company, in our agency, we have about 300 people. And, you know, people who are specialized out of those 300, let's say, are 200 people. Now, each of those 200 people are divided into these areas. They are design, creative, 3D, all of that. Some specialize in that. Some specialize in business development. Some specialize in strategy and planning. So there's no ready answer to that. You must look inside, see who you are. Maybe I am very, very good at sales and marketing. Then I must focus on that, build up my, you know, my abilities in that area. Of course, you must know the whole ecosystem, because the better you know the ecosystem, the more sharply you can apply your skill. But the various departments, you know, very many people come to me and ask me, so I want to get into the event industry, and I go, why? And they don't have an answer. I actually get some answers saying because it's a very glamorous industry. You know, and I say to them, the glamour ends the day you get into the industry. You know, when you're outside, there is supposed glamour or perceived glamour. The glamour ends the day you get in. So my first sort of advice to all the people who are listening is understand who you are.
Yes.
Understand what gives you that happiness. Understand what you're good at and what you're not good at, and nothing wrong with that.
Sure.
I'll be honest with you, I'm not the best at technology. I'm not the best at technology. I'm not afraid to admit it. I'm not afraid to empower my people. I'm not afraid to listen to people and acknowledge people who are brilliant at technology. I might be good at other stuff, but, you know, again, my job is to actually empower people, build people, create people. So there should be no insecurity in you, whoever you are. You know, our student friends and our teacher friends, let's be honest with ourselves, because honesty works the best. When you're honest with yourself, you understand what you're good at, what you're not so good at. And so you can build on your strengths, you can overcome your weaknesses, and you can focus on what you do best. And when you focus on what you do best, you also are a happier person, but I'll come to that later. So there's no easy answer to that question, Samir. We have to actually look in the mirror, take a hard look at ourselves, figure out who we are, figure out what makes us happy, and then, you know, take the necessary steps.
Next steps too. So in fact, what from what you have shared, it becomes very clear. You know, there is no one specific role. You are an integrated kind of a executive or a manager in an event entertainment industry. You need technical, non-technical, finance, non-finance, marketing, business, and more so people skills.
That's right.
So any kind of a management qualification which takes care of all of this probably helps you to launch little better than a normal person. You need to know something more, you know, just
if I claim I'm a good salesperson or I claim I'm a good marketing person, if I don't understand the product,
what is the product?
How would I be able to sell it? How would I be able to market it? Now, to understand the product, I need to understand the client's product, and I need to understand my offering. I need to understand production. I need to understand outdoor. I need to understand conventional marketing. I need to understand these things. So there is peripheral knowledge required of everything, like you rightly said, but there is heightened specific knowledge required in my immediate KRA, in my immediate job function. So one needs to understand there needs to be a balance. You can't be the best at everything. You can't be in everything to everyone. So you have to choose. That's what I mean when I say you have to choose your calling.
Yes.
You have to acquire knowledge, you know, general knowledge all around of your business.
So true. So basically, it's a manager's job to know everything, and then because the client wants to see you with every knowledge when you represent.
Absolutely. When the client meets you, you are representing all your departments,
all the costings and the event and the flow, everything. So
you should be able to justify from objectivity to operational style to costings and to manifestation of results. You should be in control of everything.
So true. I will ask you one last question, then we will open up to the floor. There are questions which I am seeing on the other machine coming on. What is the future of esports, e-events, e-exhibitions? How these things are. So people know about the Dream 11s and the Nazara.com, and now we see exhibitions going online. So how will traditional agencies, and there are many people who are freelancers and professionals who are seeing us now. So they're
Right.
saying what happens to them, and this is all like big thing, esports. Nobody knew it till 2 years back.
Right.
So that is also part of experience.
Sure. Of
3D,
course.
AI, ML.
Sure.
Yeah.
I want to say one thing very emphatically. Over the years, and this is not me saying it, this has been proved over and over again. I've met some people who actually not fear, but they believe that the new digital world will replace the experiential world. And I'd like to very emphatically say that that will never happen. In any journey going forward,
Wow.
balance changes. Balance
Okay.
changes. Obviously, balance changes.
Sure.
There were a time when we worked with telexes. Today we work with WhatsApps. Today
So
we
true.
talk free across the world. Initially we had telephones that we had to dial. So
So true.
modalities change,
Okay.
inputs change, but the actual touch and feel of an experience
So
will
true.
never change. Okay?
So true.
It might go up or down, and you enhance, you use digital, you use all of these other experiences to heighten the effect.
So true.
What was an experience 10 years ago, the format will change,
Yes.
the amplification will change. You will get the right people in through digital interface. You will explain a little more to them through digital interface. I'll give you an example. We do the blues festival. It happens once a year,
Yeah.
in Mumbai over a weekend in February. But we have the largest active blues digital community in the world,
Wow.
and that runs through the year. We have a radio show that runs every week in 5 cities, and I have the privilege of hosting that on radio.
Yes.
And we have a lot of other smaller interactions. We've actually, it's like taking coal to Newcastle. We actually now have versions of the Mahindra Blues Festival that we do in Chicago twice a year, and we do in New
Wow.
Orleans once a year. It's blasphemous, actually. It's like taking coal to Newcastle, but
Yes.
but we actually do it now. That is the power of the digital world. That is the power of the radio world, and that is the power of the activation world, where we take smaller versions to different cities. The
Wow.
idea is overarching. The idea is to create an emotional bridge, like I said, between India and the southern states of America for business purposes.
So true.
And let me tell you, and please don't, quote me on this, but when we started the Blues Festival 10 years ago, we
Mm-hmm.
celebrated our 10th year in Feb this year. The certain division was the fourth in the US in the southern states. And I'm not
Okay.
saying it's only because of the Blues Festival, but today they are close to number one.
Wow.
Because, marketing is not only about talking about your product. Marketing is about relationships. Marketing is about creating communities, like I keep saying. What have we done? We've created a blues loving community. And in the process, we've bridged an
Wow.
emotional gap between product and its potential users. And
Wow.
that's primarily it.
Wow.
So to answer your question, I think depending on whichever. So firstly, let me say e-events, e-sports, e-exhibitions are very, very critical. They are
Okay.
very, very interesting, and a lot of people will use it. But at no point will it replace regular experiential. It's very exciting at the moment, but eventually life draws balances between these. And the second thing is, the beautiful thing today, and everyone's doing it, including us, is we are looking to see how we can create a very beneficial balance
Mm-hmm.
between the new world and the classic world.
So true.
How can we use, like the example I gave you, the experience still happens live on ground. I'll
So
ask you
true.
another question. Is the IPL an on-ground event, or is it a online event?
Absolutely.
Is
Yeah.
it? There is no
Yes.
answer, right? Because it is online. If it was not played in the stadium, there would be no online,
There would be no. So
right?
true.
And yet the biggest money is made through television sponsorships and
Yes.
online things and whatever. So, like I said, lines are getting blurred. There's no either experiential or digital. Of course,
So
there are some things that run purely on digital and have no on-ground manifestations, and
in
some
fact,
that are only on ground that don't have digital manifestations. It all depends on the product and its purpose. But by and large, one will not replace the other.
one will not.
Uh, Esports, e-events, will be very, very relevant and will grow over the years. And that's another interesting area. In fact, today's youth and a lot of our people who are listening to us today, you must understand that medium and understand it well, because in the going forward, that will play an even stronger role in the world of advertising, in the world of marketing, in the world of entertainment.
In fact, I completely endorse your view. People will spend for experiences in the days to come.
That is right.
It's not only about, they want to spend on experience, touch and feel. They want to be there and enjoy that. Whether it is
Right.
travel, whether it is weddings, which is a big industry in itself,
Right.
whether it's award show, seeing a celebrity on the ground is different from seeing it on a television.
Yeah, exactly. We see the
Definitely.
celebrity in the film, every day we can
Every day.
watch it.
So people will pay for experience and pay a premium for experiences.
Correct.
That would do. So Brian, now I'm going to open up to people to ask us some live questions.
Sure.
Yeah. So participants, please raise your hand so that I can give you the audio control. Keep your questions very brief so that we have more and more, we can extract more and more from Mr. Brian. So if your question is short, the answers are big, right? So I will start. Yeah. I am now taking live Miss Meenu Mehta. Okay, so you can briefly introduce and ask the question. I'm allowing you to talk, Ms. Mehta.
Brian, thank you so much for helping us to understand the contours of this brave new world. As a faculty, what is it that I need to do to prepare my students so that, they are able to excel in this newly evolving space?
Okay, that's a very interesting question. I can I quickly, to answer your question, take a few more minutes? I have a pet theory. Can I call you Meenu or
Yeah,
Miss?
sure.
Whatever works for you.
Sure, please. Yeah.
I'll tell you something that I believe in very, 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 very much. Okay, and it'll answer a fair few questions. It answered my questions when I was choosing what to do. I believe, I want to quickly do it. I normally call it 10 lessons in 10 minutes. I'll try and keep it 10 lessons in 5 or 6 minutes. Let me see how best I can do it. The first is, you need to tell your students to go on a discovery. I think we all need, and I've spoken a little bit about it, we need for our students and our friends who are listening in to actually understand where their strengths lie, where their weaknesses lie. They need to be honest with themselves. So go on a discovery is the first lesson of who you are. You must also make time for your passions. There was a one time when I was growing up, and if you were doing engineering, you were doing, a pilot course, or you were doing MBBS, or those were the prescribed. If you weren't doing that, you were a loser. And whatever, I'm a performing arts person. I used to be a singer and a theater musical person, blah, 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 radio person. But I made time for my passions. And I think our students need to make time for their passions. I know you are teaching them a certain something, a certain curriculum, but please encourage your students to spend time with themselves and make time for their passions, because that is what makes them better, more wholesome people. I also like to believe that we as people need to chase positivity. We tend to be too negative in our outlook. I often talk about the half full and the half empty. Is the glass half full or is the glass half empty? We need to look at positivity. Will digital replace experiential? That's a very negative way of looking at it. I don't think it will. It's a very unreal way of looking at it. It will both exist, but if we embrace both and create a fine balance, it will take us to newer heights. Now that's positivity. Chase positivity. Be a student of positivity. Now, very importantly, define the terms on which you want to live life. Don't say, I want to be like Samir, because Samir is someone you look up to, of course. But are you cut out to be Samir? Are you cut out to be Meenu? Are you cut out to be Brian? Maybe, maybe not. So you need to decide who you want to be. Define the terms of who you want to be and what are the terms you want to live on. Another very important thing is, while we have curriculums, and this might be slightly blasphemous, I know we have curated curriculums, but I do believe one of the things that's helped me, two things actually, my next 2 points have helped me tremendously in life. There is one kind of qualification or learning or education which you learn in institutions, which you wear on your visiting card or you wear on whatever, on your CV. There's another kind of learning which is from life. Okay. My father would always say to me, talk to the rickshaw driver, talk to the security guard, talk to the person who cleans your home, talk to the person who cleans your office. These are people whom you will learn maximum from. And he was so right. I follow it. I try and make conversations with everyone I meet, because those conversations are not curated. They're real conversations. And if you listen, sometimes, I suffer from this bimari of talking too much. I need to learn to listen more to people. And I make that my mantra, to listen to people. So be a student of life, be a student for life. I do believe that the moment you think you've arrived and I'm the man and I know everything there is to know, you're actually going south. So you need to be very clear about it. You need to be a student of life and for life. You need to stay hungry. I'm learning things even today, and happily so. In fact, this lockdown so far, it's a terrible thing. We all know this for many reasons, personal and professional. But let me tell you that I decided, as many other people have, to make it work for me. So I'm doing so much of stuff. I'm learning so much more about not just my business, but the world around me. I'm spending so much time maybe on the phone or digitally with people whom I've not had the time to, and I'm learning stuff. Even this seminar that we're doing, or webinar that we're doing, I'm hoping to learn a lot of stuff, as we go along on what it takes to communicate and things like that. So there's an art of staying hungry. One must constantly be hungry to learn. One must constantly be hungry to up the bar, raise the game, whatever you want to call it. Know the difference. You want to set your value chain. I always say, and I want to tell this to the students, don't choose a career or calling because of money. Of course, you've got to survive. Of course, money and sustainability is important. But instead of setting, your aspirations on money, set your aspirations on what you are made out to be and what will give you happiness. And believe you me, if they always say, if you do something you love, you end up loving what you do. And if you end up loving what you do, the rest falls in line. It will fall in line. You will make enough money. More importantly, you'll be happy. And when you're happy doing what you do, the results are always heightened. So you got to know that difference. And very importantly, you need to choose something that you will enjoy the journey of. Because what is good enough? To be a manager, to be a general manager, to be a president, to be a CEO, what is good enough? CEO of a small company, CEO of a big company, what? We keep resetting our targets, and it's a good thing. It'll always change. What is important is to enjoy the journey, enjoy the process. And so to answer your question, Meenu, if I haven't already, you need to be encouraging your students to become their own people. You need to be, of course you have a curriculum which you have to impart. But I do believe while imparting that, you need to keep all of these 9 to 10 points that I crafted in mind. Make the journey of learning happy. I always say today, if I were to, and I don't mean to be advising some of the kingpins of education like Samir, but what I keep saying to myself, that when I get involved, and I'm very keen to, like I told Samir, to get involved in education, because anyway, I don't want to get into storytelling, but what I believe in our business, and it's one of the questions I keep getting asked, unlike in your regular qualifications that you yearn for, I think in our business, experience is very important. So don't read into finality of percentage points, but in a regular, management course, let's say 80% is on theoretical and 20% is on practical. Don't read into the finality of the percentage points. I think in the businesses we're talking about today, if I were to do something, I would flip that. And I would say, can 80% be practical or, on job? And can 20% be theoretical? Give or take. It could be 75-25. It could be, 30-70, 40-60, whatever. But I think the balance between theoretical and practical needs to be flipped in the businesses we're talking about. So I hope I've thrown a little bit of life, Meenu. I can never be as good a teacher probably as you are. And I don't know if I've answered your question, but, that's been the attempt.
Thank you so much, Brian.
You're welcome.
You have answered much more. Thanks a lot, Samir.
Thank you. My pleasure, madam. So Brian, friends, I must also tell you, Brian is also one of the finest teachers in the areas of advertising, media, events, and experiences in most of the business schools and institutions. Yeah. So he spends a lot of times with students and with youngsters to really guide them, to make them very strong individuals personally and professionally. Yeah, so I will take the next question from 1 second. Let me check. Let me check. Okay. Dev Kiran Chetty, I'm taking you live. Yeah. Dev Kiran.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much for doing this.
You're welcome, my friend.
I have a few doubts. Like I'm in I run a digital marketing company. The name of the company is Ray9 Media Works Private Limited. So it's been 2-3 months. We have been facing a lot of issues with the company stuff. So my question was, what will be the perfect target market to advertise or like get business in the digital marketing field due to this outbreak of corona? If you could guide me with such things, then it would be a great pleasure for us.
Devkaran, firstly, you don't look troubled at all from the picture I can see on my screen. You look like a happy camper.
Okay, my video is also on. I thought I couldn't.
No, but to try and answer your question, I mean, look, there is no easy answer to the question you have. You need to analyze what your product is. And you need to come at a time like this is a primary opportunity actually for you, because I mean, I must tell you firstly that I'm not a digital champion. I technology, like I said, I think I said to you, I had certainly said to Samir in the beginning that I am slightly technologically challenged. So I don't know if my answers could be as accurate as you'd like them to be. But I must tell you that today, the one area that is less hindered or not hindered at all is the digital space. Look at us today, right? We are all living in our homes. We've been locked down for the longest time and will be locked down for the longest time going forward. But we are having this great conversation, this great webinar, digital. So you need to figure out what you're good at, what your company is good at, what is your offering. And I don't want to get into the micro details, but what is your offering? What are you actually helping to do? Don't give yourself generalities. Oh, I'm an experiential marketing company. What can I do? I mean, that is regular. That there are hundreds of companies offering that. You'll have to stand in line. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm being really straight.
No.
If you want to make a difference, there's no easy answers. If you want to make a difference, you've got to sit yourself down with your partners, your team or whoever, or sit yourself down and figure out, this is who I am. I'm Dev Kiran. I have a certain offering that I have created. Now, how can I use this offering? You're saying to earn money, to create sustainability. Don't look at it like that. How can I use my talent? How can I use my mind? How can I use the digital assets that I have to actually create an advantage or ease the pain or create advantageous situations for certain brands? You'll need to identify an industry, let's say. You'll need to choose a fast move FMCG industry or whichever other industries are facing trouble, and see, using your technology, using your brains, using your effectiveness, how can you raise the bar? Not an easy question to answer, I must admit, but these are not easy times either. I'll give you what we're doing in our company. We're experiential. We've come to a grinding halt.
So true.
When I say grinding halt, I mean grinding halt. Okay, what do we do? What do we do? You know what? We are sitting. I was a little late coming on board because we were part of a meeting where, I'm just giving you an example. We've divided our events team into 4 large groups. Okay, and there are a lot of people in our company, and we've given them 8 briefs. They're not fictional briefs, they're real briefs based on real clients that we have. And we've given them very highly defined objectives. So let's say there's a problem in, in the cement industry. We have said, how would you use technology? How would you use who we are? How would you go to these companies and actually create a system where they can achieve what they want? Now, recently what we did was we created a global marketing seminar for a global brand. Okay. We ran it out of Stockholm, and we had 45 to 50 people spend 2 days in a global seminar, which was virtual, where they were still exchanging notes. They were still exchanging ideas. They were still exchanging thoughts. There were still speakers. So, I mean, that's a small example. It's a cliched example. I'm sure there are very many people doing that. I'm just giving you an example of how our business is about bringing people together as the immediate thing. But the finite purpose of bringing people together is to exchange ideas, to exchange knowledge, to discuss stuff. How can we achieve that without them physically meeting is what we spend time on. And we did. And now we've given 8 briefs, and they're not, I'm repeating, fictional briefs. They're real briefs, real brands. And we are saying, let's create and all things will pass, this will pass as well. And when things pass, if we are still alive and well, we will have 8 brilliant, hopefully, brilliant new thoughts ready.
Yeah.
We're looking at expenses. I'm just giving you examples. We're looking at all expenses and we are seeing how best can we minimize. This could change. Pandemic could change the way we live our lives, could change the way we do business. One question everyone's asking is, do we need to pay rents and have an office? These are hard questions being asked.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
We are facing this.
So are there ways we can make our business more cost effective going forward? Can we have a smaller office? If we are 300 odd people in Fountainhead, okay? So do we need 300 people to be sitting in the same place? Can we have a smaller office where we pay 1/5 the rent for 100 people or whatever, however many people? And can people use, the 50 of the 100 desks? Let's say 100 desks, 50 desks are used for people and 50 are rotational desks. We may choose not to. We may choose not to, but I'm saying you need to explore these possibilities given your product. How best can you make a difference to the world out there? And of course, I'm saying do it for money. Of course, I'm not, everything comes at a cost.
Yeah.
Everything comes at a price. So don't compromise your value, but you must be taking value. You can't be just going to a brand and making small talk, So, yeah.
I'll take a next question. I think we'll give chance to other speakers.
No problem. Surely. I'll be waiting back.
Yeah. If you get time, again, I will get you in. So next I'm trying to get in is Deepika Unni. So I'm taking her live. Yeah, 1 second. Yeah. So Deepika Unni, if you're ready, I'm going to take you live.
Yes, please.
Yes. Yeah, you can go ahead, please.
Thanks, Samir. Hi, Brian.
Hi, Deepika.
Hi, Brian. I'm also from an education institution in Mumbai, and we have a course on media and entertainment.
Right.
And I just want to pick up on the earlier point you said about experiential learning, right? About the larger amount of time being spent in the field or with companies directly.
Right.
We're trying that as well with our various courses. And one of the ideas is to do perhaps a 50%, not even 75-25. We're looking at doing a larger amount of time with companies. And I just thought to take this chance and put you on the spot and ask you if maybe we could connect with you post this session and see if there's something, because you've got many verticals, where we could possibly look at our students getting some kind of experiences with your company. Would that be fine?
Yeah. So very good question, Deepika. I must tell you that as a business, while we are open to sharing our thoughts and sharing our knowledge, we are not the best at internships. If there is, and I'm open to a discussion, don't let me put you off. But if we take people on, I have often propagated a thought internally, and it's selfish and selfless, where I do believe that we will be willing to take on people if there will be hard interviews, and those people will have to really qualify for the job. And I'm saying intern is a word that sometimes people misunderstand. If we are taking people on for a specified period of time, whatever that 50% of the time is, they'd have to be qualified to do a job. Okay, that's all I'm saying. And I understand that they're still studying, so they can't be delivering a job at beyond a certain level.
Right.
But we'd be open to the thought, but it'll have to be a long-term thought.
Absolutely.
Because unfortunately, we've not fared too well with interns, and it's something that I feel very strongly about. I despise the thought of an intern sitting in anyone's office where he or she is just sitting in a corner and is given some, inconsequential work to do. I completely dislike that. I do not agree with it. And so we are exceedingly careful about taking an intern. And when we do, and if we do, that intern has to do the 24/7 like we do. So we can talk about it, Deepika. We can talk about it.
We can take it offline. I think
we'll take it offline. If I'm still alive and well, both as an individual and as a company, after this wonderful pandemic has passed us by, I'd be more than happy to exchange ideas with you, exchange thoughts with you. I love that.
Thank you so much.
You're
Thanks,
welcome.
Amir.
You're welcome.
In fact, Deepika, you should use this opportunity, and Mr. Brian will be available in the days and months to come and address students
Yes.
in your business schools like yours.
We will do that as well.
So you should engage, connect. So which business school, university or college university?
I'm from Wellington, and
Okay,
we run a 2-year full-time MBA post-graduation program on media and entertainment.
Wow.
And we also have 11-month, diploma course as well.
I'm going to share a little secret with you, Deepika, and I shared it with Samir.
Okay.
Many years ago. I'll give away my secret that I'm an old man. I was the last batch of the old course, the 11+4. If you
Really?
remember. Yeah, I was. And all of the colleges stopped taking the +4 because they were all moving to the 10+2+3.
Right.
And I think it was the early years of Wellington. Must have been in the middle 70s, late 70s.
Yeah.
And I spent a
started
year
in
there.
75. I think
Did you?
started.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, I'm an old man. Minus my beard, I look a little younger, but this is one of the consequences of the lockdown. But I used to work in a pharmaceutical company back then in Worley, and I used to get into Wellington and spend an hour and a half every evening. I did my DBM there many decades ago.
Wow. No, then we'll definitely get you back this time on the other side of the table,
Yes.
addressing people. I'll definitely connect with you and take that.
So this workshop, Deepika, madam, has helped you to connect to one good, strong, powerful alumni. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Great.
Thank you
Super.
so much.
Thank you very much.
Like I said, there's a businessman stuck somewhere inside of me, Deepika. I'm kidding. We can talk. Yeah.
Okay, I'm taking Ritika Moorwala. Yeah, Ritika, I'm taking you live. Ritika, go ahead, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes, I
can.
can.
Yeah, hi, good evening, sir. Thank you so much for the lecture today. I am pursuing my MBA right now in marketing from NL Dalmia Institute in Mumbai.
Sorry, I lost the institute, Ritika.
NL Dalmia, Mumbai.
Okay.
Okay.
So I am a first year student right now, and as you said, the myth that we students are really inclined towards media because it is glamorous. Thank you for clearing that first of all. My concern here is that I have always been inclined towards media, one of the reasons you already told. But now, 1 year down the line, when I'm done with my post-graduation, how easy or difficult it is to get into a media field? Are the activities in FMCG or IT field similar to media, or does the core activity differ in any which way?
Well, the core activity will definitely differ if you're talking about a product-driven company and a services-driven company. So you've got to decide which end of the spectrum you want to belong to.
Okay.
Because in a product-driven company, you'll be focusing on using the same principles. You will be focusing on a very specific product or products.
Okay, sir.
When you're a services-driven company, products could change, but the offerings of of process stay constant. So you've got to choose which side of the spectrum you're comfortable with, if you know what I mean. So if you're if you're on the services side, you'll be you'll be working with the the amplification arms, be it television, be it outdoor, be it digital, and the likes. But when you're with a brand, you'll be dealing with a services company. So, it just depends on, on which side you're more comfortable with. Are you, it gives me great pleasure, not just to be a services company, but I spend a lot of my time trying to figure out how brand Fountainhead MKTG can make a difference, if you know what I mean. So I use, as from a brand marketing perspective, I use the company that I helped found and, as my product. And then of course, it falls into the services category. So Ritika, you need to think this one a little deeper through. My preference is, the services side, because I'm intrinsically, I feel comfortable in the services sector.
Okay.
But to each their own, different strokes for different folks. You might be different. You might prefer to take a brand of 3, focus on that brand, learn that brand, and actually figure, at which stage of the life cycle of the brand it's at, and how can you make a difference, depending on what your services are. or depending on what your speciality is rather. So think it through. Spend time talking to people, Ritika.
Yes, sir.
Don't make impulsive decisions. You have one of the biggest advantages that I feel the great need of now of age. So use that to your advantage, and speak to people, understand who you are, speak to yourself, take a little extra time if you want to over it, but try and make, a decision that works for you. I might say something to you, someone else might say something to you. Take all of it, use it, but eventually you create your own matrix of valuation, and you choose what you believe will work for you.
Because honestly, sir, I'm a bit scared that I don't want to end up into a wrong field after 1 year.
No, I get what you're saying. All of us are, all of us have that apprehension. You're not the only one, which is exactly why I'm saying, Ritika. Another thing I want to say to you is, once you've made that decision, don't look back.
Okay.
Don't look back. I have many things that I could have done differently in life. I chased happiness. I cannot even tell you. If I had more time, I'd have told you some of the disastrous things I've done. Disastrous. I spent 2 years in a pharmaceutical before, when I used to go to the institute, Wellington.
Yes, sir.
And even sometimes, and you're not supposed to know this, but instead of sitting in the class, sometimes I'd, the cricket ground opposite, diagonally opposite, I'd spend my time. I'm a sports freak, watching a game or two sometimes, and I'm a thinker, I'm a romantic, right? So I'm saying we all make our mistakes, but once you've made your decision, let it be made after a fair amount of thought and discussion. And once you make it, believe in yourself and go for it. It's not going to be an easy ride, yes, but hey, if you don't believe that you've made the right decision, it will turn out to be the wrong decision. You know what I mean, Ritika?
Yes, sir.
Believe in yourself.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Thanks, Ritika. Brian, we are getting a lot of questions on, how good or important it is to do an online digital marketing program. Actually, these questions were for yesterday, but I think there are people who still want to learn, they want to learn online. They feel digital is one big skill which they should have. So, they wanted your view too, so that they work in the industries similar to yours.
Yes. I mean, look, any additional learning. I've got to tell you guys, I'm learning at my age. I was telling y'all and telling Samir earlier that I am technologically a bit challenged. I'm digitally also a little challenged. I'm learning stuff. I've started something called Tellis like it is, and I've just launched a few episodes, on YouTube and whatever. Yesterday I was having a discussion on podcasting. I might start a podcast of my own, around music and stuff like that. But I'm learning stuff because I don't want to just get into it because podcast is romantic and it's working. That can't be the reason, So I think digital is extremely important. Like I said earlier, understanding the digital world is extremely important. It can't be a solution unto itself. You have to back it up with marketing knowledge. You have to back it up with technical knowledge. You have to back it up with purpose. It's a field. It's an area of knowledge. One is acquiring an area of knowledge, and two is actually applying it to a purpose. Two different things. I'm sorry if I'm sounding a little complicated.
No.
It's great to learn digital or whatever else you're learning.
Okay.
It's great and it's necessary. So if you've got the time, learn digital. Don't make it a career because everyone else is saying digital.
But have that skill.
Have that knowledge.
And online is the way to go. So
apply it to where your calling is. You could apply digital to marketing. You could apply digital to production value. You can apply digital to creative value. So, it's an asset that you will always have. So don't shy away from learning is my immediate answer to that question. But don't believe that will be the end solution.
There will be something new. I think and most of them being youngsters, digital is a good stepping stone.
Very important. And it's very important. The world
online is the way.
I was saying earlier that today, what I am doing, not just personally, but with the team, is we have a fair few years, 25 years of experience in creating experiences.
Yes.
But what we're doing at the moment, and we started doing about 7 or 8 years ago, is when we started a digital division. Okay. And what we do now is we marry 3 aspects. We marry the experiential aspect. We marry 4 aspects. We marry the experiential aspect to the travel and MICE aspect. We marry it to the intellectual property aspect. and we marry it to, the digital aspect. So digital mice we create, and that is what I'd like for you all to do is understand that the world is changing. While the core elements stay the same, applications of that core knowledge and core elements will change.
So true.
The distribution methods of your knowledge will change. So you need to, certain values don't change. Certain knowledge won't change. You'll need it. Certain expertise won't change. Marketing never changes. Modalities around marketing changes. Modalities of a product and selling a product don't change. Intrinsically don't change. You have to apply it. You have to apply new learnings to it on how you'll distribute it. How will it be more effective? Blah, blah, blah.
So true. I'll take the next question from Dr. Iyer Sheetal Lakshmi. Yes, Dr. Iyer, you can ask your question, please.
I think your mic is on mute.
No, mine is not. I think hers
Not
is.
yours. Dr. Ayers is on mute.
Dr. Iyer?
The microphone is on mute.
Dr. Iyer, you'll have to unmute your mic, please. Okay, we'll take the next question. Once she's again ready, we will take her on. So now I am taking Dr. Sangeeta Mankad. Yeah, just a second. Yes, please. Dr. Sangeeta, I am taking you live now. Please unmute your mic. Hello, Dr. Sangeeta.
Hi, I'm online. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great.
Yes,
thank you, Sameer. Good evening, Brian. It was lovely listening to you, your great ideas of going to modalities, new perspectives. I have a couple of thoughts that I'd like to check on with you. Keeping in the mind current scenario of COVID-19.
Sorry, one sec. There's a Clinton Banfield whose microphone is on, and I think
you need to mute everybody, Sameer, perhaps the rest. Everybody needs to go on mute except Brian, I suppose.
Okay, it's right. It's okay now.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Sameer. So as I was saying, keeping in mind the current COVID-19 scenario and your thoughts that you're talking and experiencing experiential learning, and being the promoter and the CEO and the co-founder of Fountainhead Promotions. So I was wondering, can we look into these aspects? One, can you perhaps throw in some competitions, some thoughts to various college students, to various college institutions, in which you say, you talked about taking narratives, talking about real life people, talking to the auto wala and people and getting stories. So can these people, once the ban is out, people start stepping out of the house, or in a small way when we get into slow graduation of our life, can they look into these narratives and collect ideation and stories, and you could probably throw out a competition and pick up the best? So what happens, these people start activating their minds, you anyway get your stories which are the best. That's point one. Two, India being a huge 60 to 70% rural sector, and you know what, I had a young boy come into a home, and that young chap had a YouTube channel with a huge following. Young fellow of 16-year-old, he just came visiting to his brother as a house help a few months back. This young fellow with his couple of friends had made a YouTube channel with a great huge following, and we were amazed. So there's a digital presence, there's a keenness of learning and doing an action in rural sector, but they're not recognized. Can we channelize our youth, the students of today who want to enter entertainment industry? Can they be channelized through your Fountainhead, through your ideations or other means to look into rural sector? Urban is anyway getting saturated to a big point. So you could ideate and share your thoughts on this. And third was, I was very happy to learn you have been a part of the panel, a jury for Cannes as well. Can we create a Cannes in Mumbai, in India? Can we have Cannes for entertainment?
I lost you. Sorry. Yeah. So
the last point that I was trying to make was that you've been at a panel in the jury of Cannes and many other very, very highly reputed entertainment panels and as a jurist.
Right.
Can we create one Cannes in India? Can we have somebody who could look into this, and who not but Fountainhead, your company?
No, of course I'd be open to. I mean, so one is, I've always had a pet project in mind. I did mention earlier in the discussion that, if we have students, they must be given the real world to live in if they have to learn.
Right.
And I think that marries your second, kind of suggestion that you had about making, creating a competition.
Correct.
What I would really like to do, and I'm doing it, as you must have gathered when I said with my teams, even at this time, I'm doing it with my teams. We've given them 8 very, very real situations, and we've asked them to come up with solutions. We've asked them to come up with creative ideas. So as and when the market opens, we'll be armed with a lot of ideas, research, blah, blah, blah. I'd like to work it slightly differently, if that's okay with you, where we don't just give them research work to do or going out and checking with people. Let's create, what I would like to do is let's create 5 or 6 or 8, like I said, kind of briefs for them. And not only do they come up with information by talking to the relevant people or the target group, but they actually collate that information. They actually come up with derivatives or come up with certain findings or learnings, and then they apply that learnings to a situation we've given them. Now, what we've done is we've created ownership right from research to a final solution given a brief. If we can do that, that'll give them an overview of the whole journey. I know some of them will be stronger in certain areas, some will be stronger in another area. But I think if we can create 8 projects, it's wonderful. It's great learning. I mean, Cannes was an eye opener for me when I did it. Though, I love to say, as anyone would, I was part of the jury. Let me tell you, it was so high on learning, it's not funny. I mean, I was humbled. I was humbled that I was judging entries at that level. I still think of it. That was a decade ago, and I still can quote 3 or 4 cases that I helped judge. That's how powerful the mind is. So I'm good. I mean, these things excite me. I'm good to kind of talk. It has to be constructive. It has to be, constructed thought, because there must be finality, especially for the students who are working hard. But I'm good to create. I'm good to help create a whole process with y'all and see how best we can derive some level of learning and use that learning in the real world.
Brian, I'm taking a question from Harshata. Harshata, ask your question, please.
Harshita's mic is also on mute. Yeah, okay.
Yes,
Hello,
ma'am.
sir. Can you listen to me?
Yes, yes.
I can.
Yeah, sir. The question is like, once this pandemic is over, so are you sure, like, what is the possibility that there will be events happening or like actually ground events happening? Like, what is the probability, directly after this is over within, like, so basically my question is within how many months actual events will start taking place?
If I had a ready answer to that, Harshita, I'd be a really, really rich man by now. No, but I'm joking. I appreciate your question. At this point in time, I'm going to hazard what will be at best a guess. I don't know. I don't think there's anyone on God's earth who knows exactly how long this pandemic will affect us. We are all hoping for the best. What we are doing as far as preparation is concerned is we are working on it month by month. We believe that at this point in time, we will have to make allowances for, I think, no business up to June. And maybe conversations will start in June, July. And if we are very lucky, actual work will start, I think, September. So we're talking about a good 6 months. I'm not saying of no work, but of no fructification of work. There will be no revenue for 6 months. There could be work after 2 to 3 months. I don't know. I'm an eternal optimist, like I said. And I hope that, over the next 2 months, we will be over the actual pandemic, at least in control of it. And so, because, I'll tell you another unfortunate thing about the business we are in is our business is actually at the nucleus of our business, Harshita, is getting people together, creating communities. And that's the nucleus of the problem at the moment. Social distancing is the way to go with no compromise.
So true.
And we as a profession want to kill social distancing. I don't say that literally. But our
So
business is
true.
about no social distancing. Our business is about bringing people together. So, there's a dichotomy, there's a direct clash of interest there. So basically the takeout is that even after the disease or the illness, the first problem is the illness. Business is second. I
Yes.
believe that after the disease or the illness is under control, we'll have to be dealing with sensibilities as well of people not wanting to come together, because public perception, and rightly so, is very strong. So one is the disease needs to be handled and tackled and brought under control. Two is perception of people wanting to come together will have to be overcome. And thirdly, the economy is being hammered, from its very base. So even if people are ready to come together, will brands be ready to spend? So we are fighting three battles at the moment. One is the very illness, and two are ramifications of the illness: public perception on safety, and two is brand spend, because the economy is taking a hammering as well. So I'm not sounding very optimistic, I know, at this point in time, but I'm a realist.
In fact, to add to this, what you said, Brian, yes, things will take time, but people will come back with a vengeance. People will need experiences. And for youngsters who are listening to us now, this is the time that they prepare themselves. Because I see a lot of
Absolutely.
questions here about which are the best event or marketing management institutes in Mumbai, which are best diplomas. So for that, maybe Sejal Nair, I would suggest you come tomorrow at 5 o'clock. I'm taking an exclusive session on which are the institute, what are the courses, what are the fees, and we'll answer all of those. But just a general answer to yours, when the things are not going good, there are no big events, as Mr. Brand said, this is the time you will prepare yourself for the next 6 months, 1 year, by gaining those postgraduate qualifications. So when things improve and open up, you are ready to go with your CV and apply to companies, because even if you try doing it today, you're not going to get jobs or internships. So it's better we prepare. This is the time when we do, the homework and be ready for the good days.
Well said.
Right, I will take a question from, yeah, 1 second. Khushi, okay. Khushi, I'm taking you live. Khushi?
Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can, loud and clear.
Sir, thank you so much for your guidance,
You're welcome.
firstly. And as I am a event management student, I'm in FYBMS.
Right.
And I just wanted to know one thing from you. I'm also interested in theaters. I am a theater artist. I
Okay.
want to know that what should I do after my BMS? I just want to know that how do I relate events with theater, and what is the scope behind it?
Okay. So we as a company do a bit of theater. I don't know if you've heard of Adhyam. Adhyam is a brand we help create for the Aditya Birla Group, and we do theater. We've been doing theater for about 5 years now. We're getting into our 6th year, where we've started a property. Theater, is a good place to be, but it's at the lower end of the food chain. I think you should go beyond conventional theater. What is theater? Theater is storytelling, is creating swatches of life through the spoken word and through dance and through other manifestations, right? And there are very many ways to use your love for theater in the real world as well, in the world of experiential. And I can't go into all the micro details just now, but theater is a great art form, especially in this
Yes.
country of ours. It's a great art. I'm in fact a huge theater enthusiast. I've been
Firstly, I never thought that I'll put this theater and events together.
right.
But then as I got to know about my passion, what I really wanted to do. So, and you first said that you can ask about theater. So I was on this question.
I'm a big theater lover. I've done theater all my life actually.
Amazing.
I still continue to do. I don't. Are you in Mumbai?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah, so we've done many. We did Beauty. I was part of Beauty and the Beast for Disney a few years ago.
Wow.
Recently, we did Sing India Sing, which was a musical that was locally written. And like I said, we do a fair bit of theater. But that's aside. The point, besides me being a theater lover, is theater is one of India. It's one of the greatest art forms, and I think there are a lot of interesting potential possibilities around theater. There is street theater. I always ask myself this question: who said that theater needs to be done in an air conditioned hall?
Right. Right.
Who said it? I mean, theater could be, we do a festival called Celebrate Bandra. We've done it now for 14 or 15 years. We didn't do it this year, but we have theater in the park where we do plays, people sitting in the park with their little, with their little drink and their little food, and they're soaking in theater. It's theater in the park. We
Wow.
all know of so many areas of street theater, which happens all over the world and in India as well. So theater has great scope. The point I'm making is, if you love theater, that's great. But don't only restrict theater to the variety we see in an auditorium in, whether it's NCPA or Prithvi or wherever you see your theater. Of course, that's the nucleus of theater, but also open your mind to how theater can help, or theatrics can help in the commercial world. It's a longer discussion. I can't get into details, but open your mind to theater and its possibilities in the commercial world, and you'll be amazed
Yes.
at some of the stuff you'll find. So, Khushi,
Yes.
if that's your passion, keep it alive, but
Yeah.
to make it, and I'm a classic student of that.
Amazing.
If I have done what I've done today, it's because of my love for the performing arts. I was a bit of a
Wow.
singer. I was a bit of a theater person. Still, I'm a bit of a theater person. I'm a radio jock, whatever. And I use that. I kept my passion alive. I spoke about 10 lessons in 10 minutes. And one was chase your passion. So continue to chase your passion, Kushi. But what I also did, and I recommend you do, is try and marry your passion to commerce as well.
Yeah.
Try and apply it to the commercial world and see how best you can do it.
Yes, sir. I've
Because
always
theater,
been planning what has to be done next. From my 10th standard till now, I have planned everything. But now I'm a little confused with what should I do. So I'm so thankful to you for this. Thank you, sir.
Chalo, great, Khushi. And if you need some inputs on theater and programs at New York School of Music, get in tomorrow 5 o'clock in the
Sure,
workshop. Yeah.
sure, definitely.
So
Yes, sir.
tomorrow.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Two comments, Brian. I am getting accused that I am taking questions only from females, so I'm going to give chance to some boys. Brian, you there? Brian? Just friends, just wait. I think he's lost his connectivity. I'm calling him up and reconnecting again. Just give patience for 2 minutes. Friends, very sorry, Brian is not able to reconnect again. You can send your questions on info@yanko.com and I and Brian will try to answer them. Also, I will try to see if one of the days again, if we can have him for maybe a small group of people who are really interested in music, events, and those kind of discussions. But unfortunately, he's not able to connect again. Initially, also while joining in, he had some problems there. But thank you very much for your time and joining in for this session. For people who are looking at careers, courses, postgraduate, online, offline, MBA, non-MBA, all those queries, we are answering them tomorrow evening at 5 o'clock. We can have a little longish session also, and you get all your queries answered. You can ask specifically about institutions. A lot of working professionals I see on the forum with us for last 3 days. You would also like to upskill yourself. You would like to stay relevant in this ever-changing time, and we will be suggesting you some programs, short-term, long-term, online, modular, classroom-based, media entertainment, non-media entertainment. You can ask all of those tomorrow evening. So log in early. By 4:50, by 5, I will start tomorrow and we will address very specific questions. And I look forward to see you tomorrow. Thank you very much today for joining in, and apologies for not really being able to, but still we had a 1.5 hour run. So that's great, and have a great evening. Thank you very much.